November 27th, 2017. This is MMA Junkie Radio, the pre-show, the show before the show. Yeah. To my left, I'm going to start differently. I'm going to go to the left. Gorgeous George is no longer in an undisclosed location somewhere within Enterprise, Nevada. He's actually here in the studio.
We got him.
To his left is our MMA fight analyst, Dan Tom. And back in New York, in an undisclosed location in New York, Danny Otto. How was your guys' Thanksgiving?
Really good, man. How about you guys? You guys traveled to California?
We did. And it was also really well.
How was the fam?
Good. Good. It was one of the better Thanksgivings, I think.
Yeah, you know how my Thanksgiving was.
Up in a minute.
And you know we went to California.
Right.
Yeah.
What was that?
Start asking each other questions that we don't know, actually.
Well, it sounds like there's more to your Thanksgiving. Right? Yeah.
Member of Extreme Couture?
Yeah.
Danny, you're in a band, aren't you?
I did last time I checked.
Goes? Did you have quality time with the family? And
yeah.
Yeah, cool. Oh, now it's time to do the show. All right, I'm just kidding. Aren't you guys glad to have me back?
Yeah.
But you meant how was Dan's Thanksgiving and Danny's Thanksgiving, right? You know, ours was arguably the best one ever.
I meant everyone.
As far as the food.
I meant everyone.
Because I don't know if deep down inside you were like, oh god, I can't believe this or I can't believe that.
Everybody threw down on our family. Dan, how was yours? Oh, I read something about somebody brought you a plate.
Dude, I was so lucky. I was kind of I wasn't feeling too well, so I was in for the day, finishing up some work. The girlfriend was doing, running the houses, doing the normal thing, stopping from family to family. And I was like, man, it'd be good to have a nice Thanksgiving food right now. Next thing you know, there's a knock on my door. Neighbor must have heard me. Boom.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Go. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yes!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our ace co-host, our latest edition, Dan Tom, the fight analyst to my left, and, of course, Danny Otto producing. He's the glue of the show. He keeps things together. He's back in the Big Apple. What's up, guys?
What's up, everybody?
Good to be back. Good to see you back.
Thank you, sir. How you doing? I like that shirt.
It's pretty good. I picked it up at the local Goodwill, and no, just kidding. No.
You bought like 3 other things, and they threw that one in for free?
Yeah. You get the 2-for-1 down there when it's hot.
All right. Everybody, let's do it again. How was everybody's Thanksgiving?
It was pretty good. I'm Hawaiian.
Okay. And
You're Hawaiian.
Danny Otto, how was your Thanksgiving?
Mine was good. I'm not Hawaiian, but it was still good Thanksgiving.
All right. I think I gained 5 pounds, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah. And I threw down, so it wasn't a shocker. I didn't go, what? You know, like those fighters that lose a split decision, and they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, motherfucker, they were all close rounds. Don't blame it on the judges.
Now, do you blame Thanksgiving, or do you blame the Peruvian-style stuffing that Goes was telling me about?
Just everything.
Everything.
I had to do with my girlfriend's side Thanksgiving, and then ours, and seconds and thirds, and
yeah, it happens.
I mean, back and forth through Vegas. You pass through like a few Starbucks, it's it's inevitable.
Not to put you on the spot, but how is other Thanksgivings compared to ours? Because our family is very notorious of you have to be there for Thanksgiving, you have to be there for Christmas. So it's not like I can ever say, oh, yeah, I did Thanksgiving 1 year at this person's house. I've never done Thanksgiving at anybody's house ever in my life.
So how was it over at Juliet's family's?
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was fun.
That's not what I mean.
It started a little bit later. Oh, okay. No, the food, our family puts more on the table. So I would give us the nod. What they did do, like their yams are boxing with our yams. Mashed potatoes, don't take offense, are also boxing. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but they came strong with the mashed potatoes. And then they had a turkey and ham. But then after that, mom stuffing I like better. But I didn't even try theirs because there was onions everywhere. And then, of course, all the salads. They matched us with Hawaiian rolls. You're from Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
They matched us with Hawaiian rolls. And I think they were a little bit more prepared for they had some wine versus that's what department we really slack on. So, yeah, overall, well, yeah, but I think Dad pulled out like 1984 or something, and it wasn't like a vintage. But it was great. It's what I needed after so much eating at my mom's. I didn't want another feast like that. And so I only had the one plate. Plus, I'm a foreigner there, right? So that's an away game for me. I can't just at mom's. I can be getting up. I can be the first. I don't care.
True.
But over there, I'm just kind of like sitting around waiting for someone else to reach. So I did a little bit more, and then that was it. I didn't pick out. So that was towards the end of the trip, actually, before we headed back.
What I will say is, in the history of Thanksgivings and Christmases, I've never seen you serve a bigger plate than what you did for your second plate. Was huge.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was way bigger than your first plate.
No.
Yeah, because I remember looking at it going, wow, like this is a new.
It was identical to the in terms of what I put, so unless you thought maybe I put more. But, yeah, I mean, that's where the 5 pounds comes from. I ate a lot, that's for sure. But it was great, man. I'm telling you, my mom is getting older, and she can't do it all herself. So everybody chipped in. Ghost did the mashed potatoes.
Nice.
Juliet did a casserole and some yams, and then some cousins brought shit, So in the end, I could tell that my mom wasn't as worn down. Now, she still puts pressure on herself to, organize everything. But I think the family came through. So now, I was with her for a few more days, and I could tell she wasn't as run down as usual. So it was a home run.
That sounds much more healthier than that sounds much more healthier than most. My mom was like kind of sick of the Thanksgiving food. She had a mean craving, like that Christmas Story movie for Chinese food. So when they go to the Chinese food place, that's what she went. She went to go get some dim sum. So I had a fat plate of dim sum before. Like George said on the pre-show, my neighbor actually delivered me some Thanksgiving food. So I got the best of both worlds. But
whose was better, the neighbors or your mom's?
Well, it was Chinese food, so it was dim sum. So it wasn't really a comparison. But I will say the neighbor's turkey. Everybody complains about turkey being dry. It was some of the best turkey I've had in years.
Really?
He gave me. He must have really liked me because he gave me the turkey leg, and it was the dark meat leg. So it was like it was right up Dan Tom's alley. It was.
You're a dark meat guy?
Bonafide. I'm a dark meat guy.
I don't think I've ever tried dark meat.
I have. I think I prefer the whiter meat, but
yeah, I've always been a white meat guy. Shut up, Dan.
What? I didn't say anything. I didn't take it anywhere.
Okay, I want to start the show off with this. UFC Shanghai took place, right?
Yes, sir.
And by the way, this is a short week. That's why we can't fuck around too much.
Right.
We got to get to it. We got to get to it. I hope everybody had a nice and happy, safe Thanksgiving. But in terms of the UFC, and the show that they had this weekend, it was UFC Shanghai. Pretend Michael Bisping knocked out Kelvin Gastelum. All right, and give me 30 to 45 seconds of how you react. So exactly what Gastelum did to Bisping, Bisping really did it to Gastelum for this segment. All right? Can you believe, I'll start off. Can you believe in Shanghai in the main event? Michael Bisping, wow, 3 weeks after losing his title, he's right back in the win column. He knocked out Kelvin Gastelum. Some of us questioned that decision to take the fight. But, hey, my lips are sealed. Bravo, Mr. Bisping, and now you may have your send-off in London, ending on a possible 2-fight win streak, but a huge, huge pick-me-up there by taking out one of the top 85ers in Kelvin Gastelum. The striking was on point, and, he laid him out.
I would say when it comes to Michael Bisping, the one thing that always stands out for me is his ability to be able to perform on a big stage in short notice fights. Right? We saw what he did against Luke Rockhold, where nobody really gave him a chance at all. to do anything, and he flourished there. And now you take another fight where he had 3 weeks to prepare for this fight.
Right.
I mean, is he really even preparing? He's just kind of maintaining what he already had, fly across the world, and he does it again. Sometimes it just seems like he does better in those type of fights than he does in full training camps.
Danto?
My goodness, he did it again. MMA is MMA, and I will say, as much as I want to be happy for him now, does this mean he's getting Yoel Romero? I mean, is this a quick blessing turning into a quick curse? I'm almost more nervous that he won the fight now for a send-off fight, because now it kind of justifies those high-level opponents that a former champion should probably be fighting. But hey, I don't want to step on the parade too soon. I'm blown away.
Yeah. All right, and the reason I did that, guys, is because Bisping, as we all know, lost the fight. And this in no way is to poke fun at Bisping or his decision-making or anything. But he lost the fight, and it was brutal, man. And a lot of people are out there, and they're burying the guy. I don't even know if it's rightfully so or not, because, so much just depends on the result. I mean, it could have been a brilliant decision, a brilliant way to get the losing taste out of his mouth and to position himself to, like I said, a send-off in London of somehow. Would it have been a rematch against GSP? I doubt it, but still. Right. I read a lot of articles. It's so sad that we have to start the show off by, questioning how he got into that. We're gonna lay into the UFC a little bit for having a part in that. For even accepting his, volunteering to be in that position. Should the UFC have said, hey, Bisping, you're a treasure, man. You're a future Hall of Famer, but you just had a rough fight. As much as this will save the Shanghai show, we can't do it, because like I read in some of the articles that folks did and a few of the other guys, did across, that I follow, a lot of them say the fighter can't stop his or herself. And I get that, but that is a grown human being making a decision, so they have to account for it. But when they can't, when does the team step up? Jason Perillo did an interview with Elias Cepeda, and he was saying, man, once the decision's made, I got to back my guy. I got to hop on a plane and be with that guy. I get his stance.
Yeah.
So it's weird because in this sport, it's like, oh, man, that one was rough, guys. That was rough to see that guy get laid out like that. And as soon as it happened, of course, that's what went through my head was, why did he do it, Easily, had he been on the winning end, we'd be praising him and doing this, and that's the way our sport is. We're gonna bury you when things go wrong, and when things go great, I mean, hey, hop on the shoulder. You're Rudy. We're carrying you around. Who's at fault here?
I think it was the worst case scenario of type of loss that we were all, because nobody just woke up.
But a very possible one, right?
Yeah.
You knew going in that was a very possible.
But nobody woke up in the morning and said, now it's a bad idea. We were saying that before the fight even happened, right? Once the name got thrown out, everybody said this is a fight he shouldn't have taken. This was the worst case scenario, what everybody didn't want to see, because he could have lost the decision, and even if it was a boring one, it was still a bad decision to take the fight. He just shouldn't have been there, man. That's the part that sucks the most, and you're right. Teammates, once your guy makes his decision, you got to back him, but I would hope that everybody at least put it in his ear and said, Michael, we don't think this is a good decision, but if you do it, we got to back you. When it comes to family, though, I would probably put my foot down and just say, I can't be a part of this.
What did Greg Jackson tell John Jones when Hendo couldn't fight and they were offering Chael? He told him, something along the lines of, if you take this fight, what did he say? This could be career altering or a bad career decision or something like that, right?
Right.
And everybody clowned him, including Dana White. Now, what Jackson meant was, it's not like Chael possesses Hendo power, but Chael's so committed to the wrestling, and John Jones is one of those guys that I think you program him over 8 weeks. Hey, this is what the opponent's going to do. We studied him. This is what your muscle memory must do, how you must react. And he probably wasn't training sprawls, or whatever, any other type of takedown defenses. That's probably what Jackson meant. Or maybe any of that chatter, on Fight Week that might mess with John Jones. But that's a guy that respected his coach so much that he said, okay, I'm going to decline the fight. And UFC 151 will forever live as the fight that just kind of never happened. I mean, it put a bad taste in their mouths or whatever, but that guy still held on to his belt, and everyone eventually got over it. Now, again, Jackson didn't do it because I don't think he was thinking of his health and welfare.
Right.
He was thinking more about the reign.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So could a Perillo or anyone else part of the team just put their foot down, and going forward, how can other fighters learn from that?
I don't think they ever will.
It's tough because, like you said, Jackson was doing it for the reign, not so much for the health. And then we can look at the same scenario, a similar scenario with Jackson with Donald Cerrone at the beginning of the year versus Jorge Masvidal, and whether or not they should have let Cowboy come out for the second round. The reason why I bring that up is because this whole conversation is reminding me of an argument that I believe John McCarthy might have brought up, and he was on our show recently, who called the last Bisping fight, was the delineation of responsibility. The corner doesn't want to stop the fight. They want to support their fighter. There's money on the line. There's all these intangibles, so maybe they're hoping the ref will stop the fight. But the ref, like I believe Herb Dean even quoted, he warned the corner, like, hey, he'll give him a firm warning because he can't tell the corner to throw the towel in. But it's just all these people putting the beach ball in the air responsibility, and you're right. The fighter is the last person, first of all. I think we all can agree. The fighter is the last person we can count on, but we almost need this third party, this a USADA in the form of doctors, if you will, because like John McCarthy was saying, they can do everything they can. He can go ahead and label it a KO over a TKO to give Joanna Jędrzejczyk that extra 30 days of recovery time. But like he said, all this stuff is all for naught because all these fighters need is a doctor's note from wherever this doctor is coming from to say that I'm okay to compete, because there are no tests to test for head trauma, and you all know my feelings on head trauma. So it was disturbing, ultimately, to see Michael Bisping. There is nothing to protect these guys, and there probably should be.
I think it's going to take time. I think when we see boxers, especially now in 30 for 30s and stuff like that, even guys that we thought had great careers, right? Guys that rarely got hit, like a Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah.
If you hear Sugar Ray talk, he doesn't speak bad, but he doesn't speak the way he used to. Yeah. There's definitely an effect from taking this many blows. But look how long we had to wait to see those effects. And I think that's what's going to happen to mixed martial arts is years from now, we're going to start seeing that first generation of fighters and start going, whoa, these guys don't sound the same. And then the next generation is going to realize, okay, maybe I need to tone it back a little bit. But a guy like Michael Bisping is one of those guys that's caught in the middle where the first part of his career, he probably wasn't making very much. It was still time in mixed martial arts where people were struggling, trying to get big paydays. Now he's getting big paydays, and I think he's trying to make up for lost time. So I understand why he took it, but in the long run, is it going to be worth what could come from it? Probably not.
Hell, even the short run, he only has one eye. Let's not forget, you know?
I hope this is fight week. UFC 218 happens on Saturday in Detroit. Title fight, stacked card, everything. The UFC should be focusing. I get that. Right. Mondays is usually big for the UFC in their offices, but I really hope a good 2 to 3 hours is dedicated to what happened on Saturday, where the head honchos get together and are talking about it the same way we're talking about it. There's a movie I saw called Concussion with Will Smith. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen it, believe it or not.
Check it out.
I know I got to watch
it. And it addresses TBI, but more in the form of relating towards the NFL. And how that all worked out with lawsuits, and the NFL had to pay out billions, not millions, billions. But if you watch an NFL game nowadays, you'll see someone who got their bell rung, where before it was like, whoo, man, that happened to me too. Get back out there. Take a playoff, but get back out there. This is a game we got to win at all costs, blah, blah, blah. And now, if you watch, they go with the trainers, and even if it's just like, I'm all right, coach, it was just a second, it went away. Similar to maybe like someone getting boom, boom, and you get knocked down, but you get back up, still come back and win the fight. You're able to perform because you're kind of like in a tunnel vision. You're basically fighting off instinct. But you still know that I'm fighting Dan Tom. Right. I'm in the city of Las Vegas. Today's a Saturday. Blah blah blah. But the NFL, they'll take them into these what do you call it? Like a little canopy tent. Yeah. And they run these tests on them, and then if the athlete can come back out and play, they play. Sometimes if it's more complicated or closer to half, they'll run them in the back. That way they can get the additional rest. Ice them down. I don't know, whatever. And then same thing. If they come back, great. And if not, whatever. I applaud the NFL.
100%.
It sucks because if it's a star player and, having played to a certain level, I know that you can get your bell rung and still come out. I applaud them because they're at least addressing it. That's what I mean about the UFC. Is this the first meeting to address this? Because no matter what Perillo or Bisping's wife or Bisping himself or anyone else could have done, he's the CEO of Michael Bisping Enterprises or fight team or whatever, whatever he calls himself, whatever it is on his LLC, he is the final guy, and he's a strong authoritative figure, so he probably overrules everyone by a lot. Hey, I'll take your input, but in the end, I'm still fighting.
Right.
But who could have stopped him? But the UFC, right?
Yeah.
When Michael Bisping called and said, Dana, I want that fight. The GSP fight doesn't sit well with me. You got to get me back in there. We know that they paid him well in New York, so it wasn't a money issue. It was the fact, it was those competitive juices. He didn't have the belt. He was used to it. He had a title win, a title defense, and he had camera time with that, with that belt in front of him, that shiny piece of gold in front of him. It's a lifestyle you get used to. The UFC, however, could have told him, sorry, man, we can't do that. We don't feel good about that. We can maybe get you on the December card, but let's rest you, or let's just do it in London, and I don't know, man, but like I say, I hope at this time, or if it hasn't happened already around this time, they're addressing what happened in Shanghai, and then we move on to Detroit.
There's a few things that I think make the situation look even worse, and A is it wasn't a pay-per-view or anything like that. It was a Fight Pass fight, right?
Right.
And it was in China.
Right.
He's got to fly all the way across the world. We've seen, how many fighters have we seen decline fights just because they don't want to fly across the world? And that's with a full camp. This dude was taking it on short notice and had to travel across the world, get used to his body, getting used to the time change. There were just so many black marks against this fight. I think there's a few little things that make the situation look even worse than it is.
Now, let me ask you guys this. Now, I co-sign with Gigi was saying, especially when it comes to addressing. Now, awareness is a funny word, but let's be honest. If the UFC acknowledged a couple things that are on the docket right now, I think they would receive a lot less criticism by at least acknowledging them. So I agree with you there, but not to bring it back to the whole oversaturation argument, but do you guys think the UFC would be more likely to have stepped in, like you guys are saying, if they weren't in such a bind right now? They've been this whole year to produce stars, to produce headliners, and again, by the way, MMAjunkie John over there with the MMA Roadshow did a great job giving behind the scenes in China. As I try to do, with my experiences there. But it is a different world out there, people. It's a complete different market that people don't realize. And this show, I will argue, was more important than people realize. So I believe that there was a lot of pressure that we don't realize behind the scenes. So I guess what I'm asking is, do you guys think they would have been more apt to say no if this was maybe 2 or 3 years ago in the UFC?
I think so. Yeah, if you have less fights, then it doesn't mean as much, right? And there's more fighters to pull from. I think they're stretched thin. And they're especially stretched thin for superstars, for guys at the top that can headline.
Yeah, for sure. The supporting cast wasn't strong enough, I guess, to make a splash. But as was pointed out, and this was Pacific time zone started at 12:45 a.m. on Saturday morning. The East Coast time zone was at 3:45 a.m. Old Pride days. But there was still people watching. And one thing that people noted was, wow, Shanghai came strong. They're there for the early prelims. So this is where I would tell the UFC, a little pushback, hey, all this time you've been telling us you're the UFC whenever you go into a town or a city, regardless of what happens, you're going to get 12 or 13 fights. Judge us off that, not just the main event. So if they were to tell me we had to come with a main event, that's where I'd push back and go, you're the UFC. You've said it for many years. And a lot of times when main events don't deliver, usually the rest of the card does. And you know what? That card was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It had some results. Now, of course, that star power at the end, hey, as long as you tried, you didn't plan on Anderson Silva getting flagged for potential anti-doping violation. You booked Anderson Silva, one of the greatest of all time, versus a young up-and-comer in Kelvin Gastelum. So you had your main event, your ticket draw, and then the rest was prospects, veterans, local talent. It just didn't happen. What you don't do, though, is, I believe, put an athlete in that situation. And I get it. People are saying it's easy to say after fact. But I thought we were coming pretty strong even before that. We weren't in favor of this fight. But once the fight's made, we have to give our predictions. We have to break it down and talk about it. It's just unfortunate we come in here and this is what stood out to me the most was just, it was sad, As a guy who bet Gastelum and as a guy who cheered for Bisping for many years, and then over the last year, he's not my favorite fighter anymore, or one of my favorites, I should say. I'm telling you, man, as soon as the finish happens or a decision is rendered, I immediately feel for the other guy. Regardless 100%. Of my feelings towards that person, I immediately, because I know that man's a father, he's a husband, he's a contributor for the sport. His blood, sweat, and tears is what allows me to have a fun job that I love coming, and doing. And, oh, man, I saw the ending, and it was just a moment of yes, because parlays in process, or I bet goes Chipotle or whatever, or I wanted the Mexican fight, whatever, you know. I just wanted that guy to win.
Right.
It happened, and it's not like the other guy wasn't trying to do it to him, you know. But 2-3 seconds set in, and I'm like, oh man, I start watching. And I know it must have been tough for Eryk to interview him, and I know it was tough for Joe Rogan to watch it. He had opinions towards it that it should have never been done. So,
right,
here we are.
It sucks that when you look at it, it was all just done for money. Is what really sucks, because there's not much upside to beating Kelvin Gastelum. Michael Bisping's always in that spot where there's not very much upside to anything. You know, if he beats Kelvin Gastelum, what are people going to say? Well, he's not really a middleweight. He should be a welterweight, but he's up there fighting at middleweight. Like, he can never really win. So it's not like you could even say, this fight's going to cement my legacy. There was really nothing other than money for him to gain.
And to add to that point, and again, by the way, this was a good card. It's on Fight Pass. Go back and watch it. There is, you know, talents that you should watch. We're not trying to crap on the card by any means. In fact, we could argue that it overachieved. But on that note, it's hard to not kind of come away with that thought, because even when you look at lower the card, if you guys notice, they added a match with the week out, right? And you're like, who are these guys? This is a local Chinese talent and an Indian guy. And this was the first Indian-born fighter to ever fight in the UFC. And apparently, you know, again, to reference our own John Morgan, he drew a lot of clicks from our site, which makes me think that it was a very much business move. Obviously, India is the most populated country in the world. But if you watch the fight, that was the one fight where it looked like one guy just kind of got washed, where if there was one guy in the card who looked like he didn't really belong there or wasn't prepared, it was this Indian fighter who, you know, hey, I picked. I mean, don't get me wrong or anything. It's not like, you know, it wasn't a quote-unquote well-matched card. But when you look at that guy, you're like, that guy was coming off, you know, a submission loss. He probably shouldn't have been in there. You could tell that the pressure was feeling him. But you got to imagine that was a business decision to put him on the card if the analytics are really reaching like everybody's saying. So it's hard to, you know, support and Goz's point. There's kind of hard not to walk away with that feeling when it's all said and done.
Let me ask you guys this. I was talking to some friends about the card. When it comes to international fighters, some of their names are nearly impossible to pronounce.
Yes.
And some of them don't have nicknames, and that drives me crazy, because I wish I could bring up a fighter and at the very least go, you know, the Tiger or something, right? And then you would go, oh yeah, I know who you're talking
about. Like the Mongolian wolf guy.
Something, yeah. Give us something. But there were some guys that didn't have it, and I was like, even like as the fight's going on, you're talking to your buddies, like, oh, that was a great round for. Oh man, well, how do you say that guy? And you just start coming up with stuff. I think the UFC really has to push these guys on. You need some kind of person.
They're the same last name. Two of the guys are the same last name.
I know,
was
man.
Song
it was
too.
a
It was tough. I was delineating the guys from their walkout songs, which, by the way, if there's any kung fu heads, film heads, and junkie radio, you appreciated this card because every like old like theme from a kung fu theme, like all the Chinese fighters came out to him. It was great. But yeah, it was, aside from that, it was hard to delineate even for me who they were. And I studied the card.
All right, guys, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking to... See, we're going to turn the page rather quickly to UFC 218. We'll be talking to Brett Butler from the Dodgers. Brian Butler, manager extraordinaire. He's actually managing 7 fighters this week between UFC 218 and the TUF 26 finale that takes place on Friday. Now, a few of them we can't mention because it's in the embargo. We don't know who's fighting in the finale, whatever. But the ones I can mention are solid names. Brian Butler has Max Holloway, Felice Herrig, Brett Johns, who's undefeated, and Paul Felder. So we want to talk to him about that, about his fighters that he's got going on, the busy week he's got ahead. And I still want to ask him a little bit about how it all went down when Edgar fell out, and it was on him because I watched the countdown show, and Holloway said, go out there and get me somebody, you know what I mean? So Butler had to do some hustling. On the way out, I just want to tell you that to complete the main card, Li Jingling defeated Zach Otto, Wang Guan defeated Alex Caceres, and Alex Garcia defeated Muslim Salikov. Oh my God, I bet you butchered 4 of those. 15,128 were in attendance at the Mercedes-Benz Arena. The bonuses went to Kelvin Gastelum, Li Jingling, Zabit Magomedov-Shapirov, and Song Kenan. We'll be right back, folks. It's MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93. Haha.
They can drink Mentos-flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs giving a single fuck. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
SiriusXM is giving you the chance to win a trip for two to Los Angeles for a private holiday concert with the Brian Setzer Orchestra at the Troubadour. Our winner will meet Brian Setzer and take home one of his signature guitars. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Setzer Christmas Rocks before December 8th. Open only to those with SiriusXM before December 8th. No purchase is necessary. What the hell's going on, Goes?
Of that music video?
Oh, how'd you do that?
This is the Marco Polo app. But when you send a message, you can do different filters. And it's called Sketch, but it reminds me.
So what's the app? Marco Polo? I need to download that. That looks cool.
That is cool. Wow.
Yeah.
It's basically
there's an 80s song called Boxer, Take On Me by a band called Aha. And how would you describe the video?
Cartoony, I guess.
Black and white, cartoonish.
Like if a newspaper came to life or something.
Yeah.
It's like
Isn't
sketches. Cool? It's like sketches.
It is cool. Yeah. That's badass. All right, we got to get to Brian Butler. He's super busy. He's got 7 fighters fighting this week. Now we could talk about a few of them. A few of them we can't because of the embargo. The Ultimate Fighter. We have an idea of who's going to be in the finals. Half of the equation's been solved. Nico Montano's in. But we don't know the rest of the card. So, for one, we don't know her opponent and who else is going to be filling out the card. So, therefore, we can't really chat too much about it. But I know Brett Johns is one of his guys and gals. He's battling Joe Soto, who we had on the show.
Yeah.
And he's also got Max Holloway, Felice Herrig, and our good friend Paul Felder. So, busy times for one of the best in the business, Brian Butler. He joins us now on MMA Junkie Radio. What's up, Brian? How you doing?
Hey guys, how you doing? Can you hear me? It sounds pretty choppy right now.
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly. Can you hear us?
Oh yeah, now it's smooth.
Sweet.
How's it going, guys?
Great. I was watching the countdown, UFC 218, and obviously you had a big part. Once the Edgar fight fell off, Max Holloway, he didn't want anything to do with, going through any names and sifting through any notes. He basically put it on you to find him an opponent. How was that process?
He really didn't put it on me. He just said he'd fight anybody. I mean, we literally, it was such short notice that he just went into a panic and he's like, "Listen, I'll fight anybody." And he said he would fight Ferguson. He even talked about Cowboy. Going up to 55, doing whatever. We thought that we were going to get Cub, but it ended up being Aldo. And Max was like Joe Rogan said, he calmly said it is what it is and let's do it. And he, as soon as he got the bout agreement, he signed it within minutes.
So it wasn't necessarily important for him to defend the title. He just wanted to fight on Saturday.
Yeah, how Max is, he looks at everything as a fight first, and he looks at everything like it's his first fight, or he doesn't look at a win streak or anything like that. He says that he's always 0-0 before every fight. So yeah, he's first and foremost he wanted to fight, and he really did want to fight Frankie, and he knew that it must have been a pretty bad injury for Frankie to pull out because Frankie never does. So there's a lot of respect between those two, and and like he said, it is what it is.
What did it boil down to in the end? Was it basically just the UFC said it's Aldo, or was there any back and forth between who it could be? Like in terms of your input, we already know that Max had kind of bowed out of those calls.
It was talking with Sean. It's one of those situations that I said this before. When Max won the belt, he did it in a way that he actually cleaned out the division on his way to it.
Right.
He didn't jump line and skip around, so there isn't a whole lot of people left for him to fight. In order for us to fight somebody in the top 10 that we hadn't already fought, Max would have to go all the way back to number 9, which was, I believe, was Darren Elkins. And, that didn't look like it was going to be a headliner type of fight or, something for a pay-per-view. So they didn't, I guess the UFC wasn't too excited about that. And then the option for Cub was there, but Cub already had a fight. And then obviously the option for Aldo as well. Like I said, we at the end of the day, Dana decided it was Aldo, and Max was not really balking at it. So it is what it is basically what Max said.
What would you have preferred, Brian, if it was up to you?
I honestly thought Cub deserved it. You know, we of course we already fought Cub too, but I thought that he put a nice win streak together. I think that Max finished Aldo pretty decisively. So having a rematch to us, I mean, I guess it's always sellable. Aldo's a legend, but we kind of had thought that it might be Cub, but
right.
It wasn't.
I gotta say, I think all of us wanted Cub, right here on the panel.
Yeah.
I wanted Cub to, because he had already fought him. I wanted him to have a full training camp for that fight.
Yeah.
So,
but he was gonna have.
If Cub wanted it, then I wanted it.
He's fighting Ortega the week after, so there was a camp process for
Max. Dedicated to him.
Cub wanted it. I thought it worked. I thought this would have freshened things up because Aldo was at the top for so long, and then he did go out, beat Edgar, and then he got his title back after McGregor had beaten him. But I thought it would have freshened things up a little bit, just the different possibilities that are out there. But how crazy is that? This guy was willing to fight Cowboy or Ferguson. Did the UFC strongly consider those names, Brian, at all, or was that just
No, that was just kind of us scrambling around, like, oh my God, we got to try to get a fight, So we actually talked to Donald, and he was down. But it came down to that they needed a title fight, and they wanted a title fight on this pay-per-view, and we got Aldo.
Felice Herrig is another one of your clients. She's fighting on this card. She's got a win streak going, and she's been giving people, undefeated fighters, their first loss on this win streak. After the fight, she voiced her displeasure in terms of she wishes she just kind of would get promoted a little bit more. How do you think she will be received for this fight? Do you think her concerns were taken seriously, or you think it's just going to be business as usual for them in terms of how they treat her?
I think the UFC has definitely taken note of the fact that on some of her concerns, and they've been making some efforts on the PR side of things. As for this fight, I haven't really seen much promotion of the fight, but granted they are down on the FS1 prelim side of it, but hopefully if Felice gets a fourth win in a row, it's going to be pretty hard to not pay attention to her. She hasn't had any easy outs on this win streak of hers. Courtney Casey is a very tough opponent. Everybody, even though she's not ranked, but Courtney's dangerous. So Felice is ready. She's had a really good camp. She's feeling stronger than ever. She looks stronger than ever. I'm hearing from her coaches that she's jumped more levels in this camp than she had in her prior two, and we all saw her in her prior two camps. She's gotten better and better. So excited for this one too. So we'll see. I think she's going to do great.
MMA manager Brian Butler from Sucker Punch Entertainment joining us here on the hotline. UFC 218 goes down on Saturday. 3 of his clients are on that fight card. More clients are on the
4, actually.
4 on that fight card. You're right. And then we have 3 on the Tough 26 finale. Busy week for Brian Butler. All right, goes. What do you have for Brian?
Well, really, it's a busy stretch for Brian Butler, right? Because you have such a strong stable of fighters, and you're kind of in the midst of back-to-back cards. It's been nonstop. How have you been able to handle the stress that comes along with that, of having so many cards back-to-back and so many fighters going at the same time?
I'm fortunate to have great partners with me. I've got the team behind AMMA behind me, and I've also got my main partner, Brian Hamper, who, honestly, if I didn't have Brian working stuff, I wouldn't be able to go back to back. So he, we fire well off of each other. And, we had a good team at Sucker Punch with, the rest of our guys, and it's been crazy. I mean, you guys, I also have Jen going out there. You're doing the military base tour again, aren't you? You're doing East Langley?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
When do you leave for that?
Wednesday.
Oh man, see, that was so much fun the last time I went with you guys. Half of me wishes I was there because I know Jens is going to have a great time out there with you guys.
Yeah.
Alton and Carl are great people too.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
We can't wait. And Goes, I want to piggyback off your question, then we'll get back to you.
Okay.
Brian, if this were non-Reebok days, would your head be ready to explode? Could you have that many clients and be worried about shorts and banners and late last-minute edition sponsors and things like that? Like have things just become more calm for you? And do you wish it was still that era, or are you happy with the era we're in?
Right now, it's great for us because Sucker Punch isn't just me anymore. We've got a team of people. We got Dave Arvello, we got Brian Hamper. Like I said, we got the crew at Alliance MMA. So there's a lot of people working. And if that were the case, I mean, we still have that problem because we have a lot of guys fighting on Access TV, on LFA, on Titan, on BFC, on CFFC. So we're still handling shorts and banners for in mass numbers for all those guys as well. So I don't think it would be that much of a headache anymore, actually, at all. So,
Brian, do your clients all gravitate to each other once they're under the Sucker Punch banner? In other words, when it comes to fight week, do they kind of hang out together? Are you able to plan things as a group, or does everybody just an individual where you have to give them their certain amount of time?
Sometimes, during fight week it's a little bit different, but like if we're out and about in appearances and stuff like that, it's fine. And on social media, everybody interacts. During fight week, everybody has kind of their own routine and their own camps, and some people want to sit in their rooms with their teams and watch movies. Other people want to go out and walk around and throw axes and stuff like that. Max and his crew want to walk all over every city they go in. So. Whereas, Felice will tend to want to just chill out in the hotel room and relax, and, Paul wants to look at food, and hopefully he should be I should be making a lot of slow motion videos of him this week.
I love that stuff. That's what I was thinking of, was like the one thing that came to mind for me was the post weigh-in meal, if that's like a whole Sucker Punch thing where you just all go to the same place, or if everybody's got their own different routine.
Sometimes it's happened where we've all done it together, but like I said, it depends on the camps. Some people have their own routine. Like, usually Max likes Cheesecake Factory, and usually Felice likes Outback. So it depends if there's a common place, or that we can all meet, and if so, we'll do it. If not, then everybody goes and does their own thing. Now with the morning weigh-ins, it's a way different scene.
Well,
everybody just breaks off and eats breakfast.
So whose lunch are you going to go to? Because now it's a morning weigh-in, so it's either a breakfast or a lunch is the post weigh-in meal. Which way are you going to go? Do you have to make that decision? Is it Max is the headliner, therefore you have to be with him? Felice is the lady, maybe you have to look out for the lady. Like, how will you decide which person you'll be with?
I'll play it by ear. Max has a whole crew of people here. Felice will have a crew down. She'll have a crew here on Friday too. Paul will have. I'll play it by ear. We all may end up in the hotel restaurant eating breakfast. Who knows?
That was a part of me that kind of wanted to hear.
I wanted to hear an answer.
The strongest.
Yeah, I wanted to hear the answer. Either whoever has the best food, that I'm, or maybe somebody needs to be coddled, or just flat out Max is the biggest name. He danced around that one, didn't he? All right, Dan Tom, what do you have for Brian Butler?
Well, Brian, Dan Tom here, and I'm glad to hear, by the way, whenever we have you or Paul or someone that was on that trip with us to the base, that you guys took the same experience that we did. So that's awesome to hear. But I will say, in regards to what George just said, I imagine Brian must be one of the better managers, because at least when we're on the trip with him, he eats as good, if not better, than the fighters. And if you follow Brian on Instagram, you'll know that he's got some skills himself. He can actually get in there, give the fighters some rounds, and has that experience. So I imagine Brian's a good manager in that regard.
Kid throws down too.
Yeah, absolutely. But Brian, speaking of that, not just being the perks of being a good manager, as far as maybe eating good or being able to give rounds, but the real deal of it, the manager part. I noticed you have a lot of talent from a lot of different areas. Now I'm talking from regional, UFC, even within the UFC, female, male, someone just starting their career, a more established name, to even, you've got the Welshman, Brett Johns, you're even getting, people from international markets. Is that ideal for a manager, and is that by design? Is that something you set out to do?
I set out to create a name for my company, not really a name for myself. And then when I first started this business, nobody knew who I was. And,
right.
nobody knew who Sucker Punch was. But over the course of a period of time, everybody started hearing the name and recognizing the name Sucker Punch. So, the brand started to resonate, and that's how we got connected with Brett Johns. And I don't know if you ever saw that video when we actually finally got him signed to the UFC, but it was one of the best moments that I've ever captured on film. It was awesome. It went pretty viral on the internet too. But we have multiple managers under our team right now, and we're able to cover everybody, and we've got great relationships with all the regional promotions and also with the UFC and Bellator and so forth. So everything just works. We just try to do everything the right way, and we like to build fighters. We don't really like to go in and poach them after they're already established. So we take a lot of pride in building a fighter prior to the big shows.
Brian, let's end with this. We'll have a little bit of fun. You land in Detroit, and somehow you notice all your contacts are erased. So the only thing that's coming across is just the message, not even the number, because obviously you'd recognize their area code. I'm going to read off the text, and you guess who more than likely that's coming from, all right?
Oh, man, okay.
I forgot my mouthpiece. Help.
That's Felice.
All right.
She did. Remember that one time we had to run back? Jeff had to run back and get her mouthpiece from the locker room?
That's right. Yeah. All right.
While we were live on Fox?
Okay, the weigh-in's already been done. I'm craving a shot of tequila. Crazy, huh? Please get me one.
Paul Felder.
Hey, can you bring me a PlayStation? I'm bored.
Max.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's go check out 8 Mile.
Let's go check out 8 Mile?
Yeah.
That would be Max as well.
Okay. Hey, let's go see if we can find that club in the movie 8 Mile and drop some rhymes.
That would be Sabah.
Goes, you got one?
Just my people that are
yeah,
on
just your 4 fighters.
Yeah, that's Sabah.
All right. I forgot my cup. Now, obviously, that rules out Felice.
That would be Felice. No, I'm kidding. That would be Paul, actually. Probably Paul.
Okay. How about this one? When do I leave again?
That would be, Paul or Max.
All right.
Wow. How about this one? I just got in a fight with this fucking toilet. Man, I hate these things.
That would be Paul Felder.
All right, cool.
That was a random one.
All right, man. Well, listen, good luck with everything. You got your hands full, but it should be fun. There's a world title fight. Felice is charging up the ranks of the strawweights. Paul Felder's always a blast, and he's got now the broadcasting gig going. So, is that, by the way, is that fun to negotiate on his behalf? That's a complete little different animal, right? Than you usually dealing with fighters, appearances, and this one's broadcasting. It sounds like it wasn't just a one and done either.
No, he's actually doing awesome at it, and they're asking him to do more and more of it. So he's doing great. Those things are. There's not a whole lot of negotiation when you come in green like that with it, but the more they use you, the more they like you. And we were able to talk to some people that had a lot of experience in it who helped us out, like Brian Stan and so forth. So, it worked out great, and it's working out great for Paul. Really excited for him about that.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Brian, thanks for sharing some time with us here on MMA Junkie Radio. Good luck on Saturday night. Well, Friday night as well. You got some horses running at the Top 26 finale.
Yeah, you guys have fun out at the base. Say hi to Alton and Carl and everybody, and take care of Jens for me, huh?
Will do. Thank you, buddy.
All right, guys.
All right, we'll see you.
Easy.
All right, folks, that's Brian Butler. Follow him on Twitter, Brian Butler _AU. We'll be right back after this break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93.
charm, compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
What? Check this out. Win a trip to Miami Beach for a special invitation-only concert from Duran Duran. Our winner will get a trip for two to Miami Beach, including air, hotel tickets to the show, and a chance to meet the band. If you don't win the prize, you can still hear the show live on First Wave and The Pulse December 9th. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Duran Duran before December 1st. Open only to those with SiriusXM since November 1st. No purchase necessary. Dude, SiriusXM sending people to Old Trafford for Billy Joel, Duran Duran, Miami Beach, Brian Setzer Orchestra, the Troubadour. That's really, really cool.
Duran
These
Duran's
contests.
going to be here, too, at the Chelsea.
You might want to repeat that in Croatian so Mirko Krokop can apply.
Oh, yeah.
He probably wants to go.
Shit.
Yeah.
I think that's an awesome walkout song. A lot of people hate
Wild
it.
Boys.
Yeah. I think that's cool.
I think it grew on me. I think the first time I was like, why the fuck is a tough guy coming out to that song? But in the end, it became his song. Then towards the end, didn't he not come out? And that we're all we're all pissed off.
Pride song one time, didn't he?
Yeah, we were all like, what the fuck? What happened?
Yeah. No, I love that song, and I like Take on Me. What was playing when we came back from the breaks?
Yeah.
If I ever die, I want you guys have to talk a fighter into playing that song as their walkout, as a tribute to me.
Take on Me?
Mm-hmm.
That's really random. I hope that never happens, but okay.
Yeah,
all right. Jeez.
Why do you have to die?
Yeah, why do you have to die?
Nobody's going to do that just for fun.
No, but you want this UFC level, or can we just have...
no, UFC level.
All right.
Come on, man.
Well, I wasn't sure.
Come on, man. Made a mark in this world?
Oh, my gosh.
Well, wouldn't you want to enjoy it, though? If you're gone, you're gone.
I would. I'd be looking down, laughing my ass off.
Were you close to letting Brian Butler know that we appreciated Max Holloway's "It Is What It Is"?
Yeah.
And the fact that he says it, but Brian,
if I could stand right now, I would have walked out.
Right.
That was 3. It is what it is.
Right.
And they weren't even coming from him. He was just reminding us.
He was slowed down. Right. All right, folks. We got the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio headed your way. Now, the first 20 minutes, are wide open. If you want to call in, 866-522-2846. After that, we'll start a run of interviews since it is a short week. Trying to deliver some content there for the editorial team. All right, folks, stay close. We'll be right back. It's MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. Today's Monday, November 27th. right, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. That's Jim Miller's walkout song, right?
Top 5 walkout song.
It's a classic.
Baby.
It is a classic.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I'm going to send a text to Danny about a song that I thought about that would have been perfect for Rose Namajunas when she took on Joanna Jędrzejczyk. And this has to do with...
No.
What?
Is it from a movie?
Well, I'm sure it's been played because it's a popular song, but I like the feel of it. You know,
Okay.
like I really think fighters... Rose would never do it because she's Thug Rose, and this is more of a new wave type song.
Okay.
So I don't think she'd be feeling it. It's not her era or anything like that. But I really feel like every fight kind of has a story behind it. And in this case, it was the underdog American versus the unstoppable Polish girl. And the Polish girl was like into her, you know, like the intimidation factor and, you know, I'm going to beat you to, you know, up and down this octagon, whatever the hell she was telling her she was going to do her.
Take her soul.
Exactly. And where were they fighting? In America, though. They were fighting at Madison Square Garden, so I thought maybe Rose could have pulled one out. And I really believe that there's something to either your nickname, your walkout. If you're in Bellator, if you can get them to do images and graphics and all that other shit, oh, man. Like, I remember Mike Richmond came out in San Diego. And Richmond's a former Marine, or, well, once a Marine, always a Marine, but he's a Marine. And he came out. I remember a lot of people were just into it just because he was a Marine, right? Mo came out, remember? And he was styling and profiling.
With a color guard, didn't he?
Yeah. Richmond?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mo was doing his thing, you know? But people identified with that. So we've tried, you know, I think Kobe had red, white, and blue when he was in Brazil. You know, a few fighters have actually done it. But I think if you're not going to, if you don't have a consistent walkout song, then maybe play up to, you know, the storyline. So I'm gonna feed it to Danny, and then we'll slow things down. But you guys are gonna pretend you're in the arena.
Okay.
And as soon as you hear this, you know Rose is walking out, and tell me if you feel like you'd be pumped for it. You
ready.
know? If you're just Joe Lunchpill, you're not really on either side. But now you hear this song, you're like, oh man, I gotta back the American. All right. In the meantime, Alexander Gustafsson apparently has revealed a shoulder injury on Instagram. Either you two clicked that yet?
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, so this is probably what's been keeping him out of the sweepstakes versus DC. DC was slated to fight Volkan Ozdemir. He's got some troubles going on, so he may have to defer to another name. Gustafsson, if he were to fight, depending on the how serious this injury may be.
I heard this is one of the most painful ones.
Is it a torn labrum? Does it say that?
No, it's actually his collarbone. Got my shoulder fixed. Feel great. Been 3 months with the plate keeping my collarbone in place.
Okay.
Now rehab and slowly getting back to 100% training. Can't wait to get back to the octagon.
But no timeline, huh? When he can be back? All right. How about this one? How will we remember Bisping when he's gone? How will we remember Bisping when he's gone?
Fighting around the world.
Can you sum it up?
I think he's definitely Hall of Fame and probably one of the best international fighters to ever, especially coming out of the UK.
All-time great Hall of Famer?
Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I saw someone make a Mickey Ward comparison as far as boxing goes, and you could probably get into specifics as far as boxing comparisons, but I do sign off on that in the sense of I'm going to remember Bisping as just that fighter's fighter, that classic. You know, he might not have always won the big fights, but he was always good enough to be in there and gave us memories, win or lose, along the way. And you really can't ask for much more in the sport.
I mean, what are some of the highest accolades that you can get in the sport? I mean, he has them. He won the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
He won the belt.
What if he had just retired after the Rockhold thing? No. Granted, he wouldn't have had the Hendo defense, and that was pretty big to him. What if he had retired after the Hendo defense and just said, you know what, I'll just have to live with the Romero and the Jacare stuff, and you know, you can say what you want, but I retired on top, man, in my home country. You know, he would have missed the GSP payday. That apparently will pay him well, but still.
It's tough because I can't remember. I think it was a thread that we had between editorial that we were talking. Take a guy like Rich Franklin, okay? He had a good career, but he's kind of lost in the shuffle, right? Like a lot of new fans, you say Rich Franklin, they may not even know who he is.
Dude, you know, remember when Martin Kampman was here about a year ago? He actually told me, he goes, is anyone going to remember me?
Yeah.
And I told him, hell yeah. But that was a hell yeah from my end. Hell yeah, I remember Martin Kamen. But then I thought about it, and when you're 5 years removed, the sport just kind of moves on, and
it's nothing against the fighter.
Right, exactly.
It's the sport.
Yeah.
You take a guy like a guy like Chuck Liddell. Right now, it's going to get to that point where I think more people know him from like TV and shit like that. Randy Couture, same thing. Just because of the mohawk. Like if he didn't have a mohawk, he might be one of those guys that's just the way the sport is. It eats you up alive. So a guy like Michael Bisping, great career, but I think he would just probably get
Fox helps a lot
in
though.
The shuffle.
Fox and his podcast.
It's like a Lakers reference, which I'm sure you guys will sign off on. It's like me going up to a Lakers fan, like, you like the Lakers? I like the Lakers, and they go Kobe Bryant, and I go Eddie Jones, and I go wait.
Yeah.
We go wait, because we're just different eras. It's just you don't know Elgin Campbell, Eddie Jones, Vladdy Divac. You're like, no, I just know Shaq and Kobe. It's just one of those things. You just like, we like the same team, but we're clearly in different eras here.
But they'd remember Magic.
I hope they remember Magic.
And Kareem.
Jeez. I remember Kareem.
I know. Yeah.
Right. How many people are going Magic? One of the owners of the Dodgers?
No, I think they know. I think you come across. I think the NBA does a good thing of reminding you one way or another, some sort of highlights package.
I used to do a basketball camp with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when I was a kid.
Did you?
Yeah, I got to interrupt one of his phone calls while he was trying to plan his evening at Cheetahs. I remember him talking about Cheetahs.
Here in Vegas?
Yeah, it was like 1994, and he had one of those bigger cell phones, and I snuck away from the group just because I wanted to isolate Kareem and go. I saw where he was on the phone to go ask him a question. I'm like, excuse me, Mr. Kareem, was it you or Wilt that invented the skyhook? I remember asking him like some stupid question.
I just sound like an old man when you were a kid.
I don't know.
What did he say?
I forget. He's probably just like, I had scoreboard with the ladies, beat it, kid. Or something.
Was there a weird aroma in the air when you went to go talk to him?
Yeah, I wouldn't have known, especially then. But no, yeah, I don't know. No, he just looked like I just remember him talking about cheetahs, and I was waiting for him to get done with this conversation. I'm like, all right, when do I interrupt him? When do I interrupt him? Sorry.
We're ready for that song. You guys want to hear it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, picture. Night of Fights has gone down. This was the featured bout, so it wasn't even the co-main or the main event. But you've had a night of fights, and now it's the Polish girl who's been talking shit against the American gal in Rose Namajunas.
Right.
You don't know too much about either one, just kind of what I told you, but you want to cheer for someone. You forgot to get your bet in, and nobody around you wants to bet a beer. You just want to cheer for someone. All right, hit it, Danny.
I knew it was going to be that stupid song.
Yes.
Is it really that song, Danny?
You don't like it?
It's not?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, it's not. I'm going to be blood red mad about this song. I hate that song.
That's not the song.
So stupid. It has nothing to do with Batman at all.
I'm sending something to Danny that I was going to send him earlier.
All right, play it. Can you play it now, Danny? Now, if you hear that, don't you go like, fuck yeah, who's this? Right?
I think I would look around and go, huh? Like that.
Forget about whether it's in or it's out or this type of music. It's just catchy.
I actually have never heard this song. I don't know what it is.
Never?
No.
This is David Bowie. This is Young American.
I feel bad not knowing this one. I'm a Bowie fan. Yeah. You would need this walkout would have to be directed by the guy that did Guardians of the Galaxy, someone that could make those old jams fit, because I could see it, but I think listening to it just now might fall flat for some people, but I could see it.
I'm trying to think if she could spin the fact that she's Thug Rose to match this. Like,
Young
am I so
America.
thug that I can do shit like this?
Well, no, just, hey, America, get behind me, fuck her.
I think
that's what it is. Because when they went heads up, she was just doing the little rosary thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "Oh, this poor little lamb's gonna get slaughtered." But now when she's coming out, her face brightens up. Pat Barry's behind her. Like he's getting the crowd into it. And because come on, it's not just 18-year-olds there, right? The 18-year-olds are there with their parents or whatever, and those parents are gonna go, "Fuck yeah!"
Right.
This is a song about young Americans. I'm backing her. Nothing against Joanna. Joanna's cool, but I'm just saying for those fans that aren't in any way invested in the fight. I just like that it's catchy and it starts off cool.
You know what I thought about, guys? Is this too over the top? But when you're saying this, I imagine Joey Diaz, get guests to this here show, but if you ever listen to Joey Diaz's podcast, how he would do those intros over the top of classic rock jams like this, like I could picture him going, "All right, you cocksuckers, we got Rose coming."
Exactly.
You know?
All right. Well, maybe I didn't hit the home run that I anticipated, but I heard that song the other day, and I was like, man, someone should walk out to that. Now, I used to think David Bowie said she was a young American, and that's why I was thinking of a fighter, a young American fighter. But what she's saying is she wants young Americans, something like that. So close enough, but people in the arena would still get it. I'm an American. I'm going to root for the American. Now, here's where the song slows down. By then, you want to do the hugs and be in there and have the DJ fading it out because it kind of loses it a little bit. How much into the song are we, Danny? How many minutes?
We're like halfway through. We're at 2:20.
She's at least at the Harley Davidson.
So yeah, so she'd have to do maybe a little bit of the Frankie Edgar sprint and just get it over with, or just soak this up because the song picks up again.
All right, this is the one. Danny, do you have the one that I chose? The second one.
I do.
Can you play that one? I think this is what I would do.
For Rose or for who?
For Rose.
Okay.
Or I guess for if you want to do America.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was remembering.
Nothing wrong with that one. Fighters, are you listening? Put some vibe into your careers, into your brand, into your walkout. Pick a nickname that jives with you, that people can make a T-shirt out of, or I don't know, man. But I want to start remembering fighters because when I was watching the China card, I was barely hanging in there. And I was like, who? What? What the fuck? What's going on? And that's with a lot of the foreign fighters. I also do it with some of the American-based fighters.
Hey, but you got me thinking, George. Classic rock song, aside from Jim Miller, which is top 5, right? Who's the best fighter that pulled off a classic rock song? Now, I'll throw a name into the hat. Alan Belcher at UFC 100 when he came out to Bob Dylan Hurricane. To fight Yoshihiro Akiyama. I don't know why that song just fits so perfect with Alan Belcher. And it's obviously a song that's about a boxer. It's a pistol shots ring out. And
you got it, Danny?
Actually, Danny should
What's
play
the name of it?
Bob Dylan Hurricane. It was a movie Denzel watched about the boxer Hurricane who was falsely in prison. Came out in the 90s, and it was a true story.
I just don't remember the song.
Carter. Yeah, and Bob Dylan wrote a song about it.
But Ronda Rousey went old school with Pat Benatar. So it's not like it has to be within the last 5 years, the last 10 years, and people loved it. Oh, of course, I know this
Great song.
Yeah.
He's just come making his way through the crowd.
Yeah, I know that's an awesome.
It just
song.
fits the ambiance as far as doing the hand slaps, right? The Rich Franklin hand slaps on the way out to the octagon.
I thought the AC/DC was awesome when he would come out to that.
Classic.
And Brock Lesnar when he came out to Metallica, that kind of he kind of owned
too.
that. I mean, people just got into it. All right, let's take some calls here because we got some fighters headed our way. We'll have to do a commercial at some point, so. Let's get these fools in here. Oreo and Showtime back to back. What's up, Oreo? How you doing?
Good to hear from you.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Hey, so you guys catch the China card?
Yeah.
Man.
You want to start over?
I think we quote last week. This guy reminds me. Last week he not only did he say, okay, he brought a topic to the table. Fuck, what was it? Forget what it was, and I politely told him, just rewind and catch the earlier part of the show. We discussed it already.
Yep.
And Oreo's always calling in. It sounds like he's half asleep or baked or something. But what cracks me up is when he called that time, he goes, "Man, you guys need to discuss this type of stuff." Like he was putting it on us, and we already had done it. Why? Can you set your alarm clock like an hour earlier or something? This is starting to become a habit here.
Yeah, I'm working, so I wasn't able to catch the show before.
Well, then come in with a preface. Say, hey, I missed the first hour, but did you guys discuss? And then we'll be a little bit more friendly about it.
Okay, cool. Can I start over?
Yeah.
Real quick.
Oreo from Alberta, Canada. What's up, man? What's on your mind?
Hey, so I know you guys discussed about the China card. But
you don't know that for a fact. You got to say you may have discussed this already. However, and then throw it over.
Say you're calling in cold. Calling in cold.
Yeah, calling in cold is another way to do it.
Yeah, I'm calling in cold. So I don't have a lot of time, so let me get this point out of the way real quick.
All right.
I just had a question about you guys catch ONE FC as well. Do you know since they have a lot of Asian fighters? You know, the ONE FC the fighters in ONE FC do they have better Asian fighters in ONE FC than the UFC? Because I caught some ONE FC cards, and they look a lot more aggressive and a lot more vicious. So I'm just wondering how come the UFC isn't going after the ONE FC fighters that when their contracts go up and stuff.
I think
it's a good question.
Know anything about that?
I think it's the rule set that makes it look like that, just because everything seems so violent.
They allow kicks and knees on the ground, so you may be catching some of that.
I've noticed that their records aren't as high as some of the UFC guys.
Yeah.
But they do have good fighters.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you if theirs would beat the UFC's or not. I really don't know. There's a chance because obviously they dipped in that pool 5 years ago, whereas the UFC's only now starting to get things going. So I guess if I had to bet, like if ONE FC went head-to-head, I'd say maybe they'd win 7 versus the UFC's 3. But you never know in an MMA fight. I don't know. Nothing with certainty.
Yeah, it's tough to tell. You got lower level competition makes for more exciting fights, and they're more appropriately matched in ONE FC. You know, they're facing more guys like each other. Where once the UFC gets these guys, it's only on occasion, and the matchup is who knows what we're going to get, as we saw this weekend.
Man, one championship does not.
Thanks for the call, Oreo. Huh?
Nobody calls it one championship. That's the one thing that we all put our foot down.
Oh, the ONE FC thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
It just hasn't people say PFL now, right? That caught on fast.
Yeah.
But one championship will not catch on.
Showtime in Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? It's your time.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What's up? How you doing?
Hey, man. Hey, y'all remember when the guy came, when the Bellator fighter came out, and they did that little skit? He had, like, the little barbarian, like, the little Red Flintstone,
Rickles.
like, fur thing with the stick.
Yeah, it's the caveman Rickles.
That girl is a real crowd pleaser. When he came out to that little skit, that shit was like live, man. Y'all remember what I'm talking about? And the fans, people were like helping him act out the skit.
Yeah.
That's Dave Rickles, right?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it,
with the club and the caveman outfit. There's a big dinosaur behind him. It's awesome.
It's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, man. That had to be one of the best, walkouts I've probably ever seen, man, as far as fan participation. And then they like froze and they stood. Everybody just stood there and didn't move, and then he started walking. Mm-hmm. I thought that was hype. You got a lot of walkouts. And I'm gonna tell you another one that was real emotional. When Amanda knocked out Ronda, she came out to Rihanna's American Oxygen, and if you listen to the song, she's talking about a little girl growing up on the other side of the ocean, and it was like, man, I was listening to it and listening to her come out. And just visualizing the song, and after she knocked her out, that was like an amazing scene, man. Just her knocking Ronda out, and then the crowd just being so quiet. I mean, you could drop a needle and you could hear it. The crowd was so quiet.
What if you dropped the roach? Would we be able to hear a roach if the roach dropped?
Hey, check this out, guys. After I made that comment, Gally from Toronto messaged me like, roaches really aren't that dumb. If there's a nuclear outbreak or something, the roaches will take you away from, the nuclear poison or whatever. And he had me rolling.
That's true. And also, too, they're smart enough to, when they know that when the lights turn on, they need to get going, right?
Yeah.
So really, when you think about it, roaches are like probably middle of the pack when it comes to
Showtime should just never use that analogy ever again, right?
Well, it's funny as hell.
Just pick another insect?
Yeah, but another insect. Like a roly-poly or something.
Right.
They got no game.
But you know what, man? I didn't even think of that, to be honest. I just said that on the fly. I actually laughed at that shit for a couple minutes when I got off the phone.
So did we.
We laughed the whole day. I was laughing at that.
So did we. It was funny. It was funny. You're a funny caller. We're not making fun of you in any way. We're just, I guess it was just kind of like a goof, right?
One of the best parts of it, though, that made me laugh the most was I could visualize, because of Showtime's calls, I know that was probably part of his parlay or something. And I was watching the fight the same way, thinking, man, he looks so good in a lot of his fights, and then he just makes one mistake.
How did he use it again?
It must drive you crazy. He's as dumb as a roach.
He's as dumb as a roach? All right.
So I knew exactly, like I could just picture Showtime sitting on his couch, and he just throws his Twin Peaks mug up against the wall or something.
You fucking roach. We got to move, Showtime. Thanks for the call, though.
All right, guys.
All right, we'll see you. All right, let's get out of here. We're running late. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. When we come back, we'll talk to Nate Andrews, Eryk Anders, Drakkar Klose. One of them is coming off a fight. A couple of them have fights coming up. So lots to talk about with each of these three guests. Stay close. We'll be right back.
They're so fat, they gave Dracula diabetes. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
Your favorite holiday music channels are back on SiriusXM. Check out Contemporary Holiday Favorites on Holly, which is Channel 70. Holiday Traditions, that's Channel 4. You can get our complete lineup at SiriusXM.com/holiday. All right, our first guest is Nate Andrews. They call him the Snake. He's 12-1 overall, 5 KOs, 7 submissions. His last 6 fights, he's on a 6-fight win streak, but his last 4 have been submissions. So it's interesting how his career has gone kind of in waves, where he started off with submissions, then he was knocking fools out, now he's back to choking people. Either way, every fight has ended with a finish. It's amazing. Now he's coming off a win at CES MMA 47, which took place about 10 days ago, where he submitted Tyler Coombs. He joins us now on MMA Junkie Radio. What's up, Nate? How you doing?
How you doing?
Great, man. Thanks for joining us here. Did you have a nice Thanksgiving, first of all?
Yeah, I did. I got to enjoy eating some good food this time around the year. Normally, sometimes I'm fighting around this time, so I'd have to suffer during Thanksgiving and not get to eat, so it was good to fight before this time.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks for joining us here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. What a nice record you have, man. 12-1, but those finishes, wow. Like, I would rather be 12-1 with the 12 finishes than, like, 14-0, but, like, half of my wins are decisions. And I know some people may laugh, but there's something to be said about someone that goes out there and leaves no doubt in the judges' minds and the fans' minds. And if you have to lose one from time to time, whatever, but you just don't I don't know, all that controversy that can come from, you know, letting someone else decide the fight, it bugs me sometimes.
Yeah, just same here.
Yep. Well, so you're handling your business. Now, why is it that you started off with submissions, then you went through a run of TKOs, now you're back to submitting? And, like, what are you looking for when the fight starts? Is there a preferred way to finish the fight? Is it just what they've been giving you?
Yeah, I just you know, I just try to hop on the opportunity when it arises, you know. So I don't go out there saying, "Oh, I'm going to knock this guy out," and I don't go out there saying, "Oh, I'm going to submit this guy." I just go out there saying, "I'm going to finish this guy." I'm going to go for it whenever that opportunity pops up. I'm going to go for it. So you know, it started off with submissions, and I felt like some guys were like, "Oh, well, he's good on the ground, so let's try to keep it standing." And then I've got to knock out a few guys, so I think it's changed my opponent's view again. It was like, well, let's see what we can do if we get it down to the ground, and I've been able to, you know, secure some submissions again.
It's like a bingo game, man, trying to figure out how this guy's going to win. For one, you got to decide between the submission and the finish. But he's done the guillotine, the rear naked, the triangle choke. Then with the head, with the KOs, he's done the head kick, the knees, the elbows, the punches. So you're
spins a wheel or something.
Exactly.
Right?
It's like you're deciding in the back, the wheel of doom. You know how you're going to end the fight, and however the combo comes up, you go out there and do it.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Nate Andrews, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. What's the next step now? You've been dominating over there at CES. You've definitely put in your time. Do you feel like you're ready to take that next step? Have those promotions been calling? And are you even interested in that yet?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in it. You know, my goal when I first started was to make it into the UFC, and that's still my goal. My management team has put my name in there a couple of times when fights have backed out, and I just wasn't one of the guys that were chosen. You know, like if someone backs out, they offer, like, you know, we offer guy A and guy B, and you know what I mean. Unfortunately, those couple of times that it has happened, they chose guy A or guy B, which wasn't me. You know what I mean? So, and I look at it like that. Like, you know, obviously these guys that have said no to fighting me have looked me up and seen my record and was like, all right, do I want to fight a guy who's, at the time I think it was 10-1 with 10 finishes, or do I want to fight a guy who's, you know, 9-2 with some unanimous decisions? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if this guy's going after it, maybe I'm better off fighting this guy than the guy that, you know what I mean, has all these finishes. So I'm just hoping my time will arise, you know what I mean? Sooner or later, you know what I mean? There's going to be a short notice fight. No one in the UFC is going to be in my weight class will be able to take it. They'll offer me, and hopefully the guy will say yes to fighting me, or hopefully I might be his only option, and it's either fight me or don't fight, and he says yes, you know? because I understand that in my weight class, you know, the division is stacked. So, you know, it's not like they're just out here hiring lightweight. But, you know what I mean, if they do need one, you know, I'm right there ready to go.
So here's my question. I feel like there's a few different avenues to make it to the UFC. One, there's this Dana White Contender Series. You saw that, I'm sure, over the summer. You go in, it's a fight card, and then in the end they choose one, sometimes two, to go in and be automatically in. There's also the reality show, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think your weight class or the different weight classes they're looking at are going to be featured. Except, now that I think about it, they stressed undefeated. Somehow I think they'd forgive a 12-1 fighter with 12 finishes. But regardless, there's also the show where Dana White goes out and looks for a fight. You know, and like you said, then there's the other one where you just stay in shape and hope you get the call. Well, have you thought about what you prefer, or have you mapped out maybe how maybe if you want to take control of your own career, what you would want to do?
I'm open to all avenues. The Contender Series, as you know, like the first season, they didn't do, as of I know, they might have did one time, but they really didn't do any lightweights. It was mostly all like, it was like heavyweight, middleweight, you know, 135ers. There was a 145. I think they might have did one time at 155, but I'm not 100% sure. So, you know, so that wasn't open then, but my manager did have a couple guys that are signed on that series. The Ultimate Fighter that's coming up is the undefeated one. I actually am undefeated in my weight class at 155, but my only loss is I fought up at a catch weight at 165. The guy couldn't make weight, and we agreed at the 165. And, you know what I mean, that went to a decision, which I felt like I still won, but, you know what I mean, that's why that whole letting it go to the judges thing is really not in my books at all, you know what I mean, because of that one time that happened. But I am undefeated in my weight class at lightweight, but I don't know if that even counts with that one loss, you know. And
I'd let it go.
White, you know, watching looking for a fighter, you know, if he was ever to come around to, you know, around to New England to come watch fights, you know, I would definitely try to get on a card that he was on or had his YouTube series at.
All right. Goes. Dan, do you guys have something for Nate Andrews? Go ahead.
Nate, I was going to bring up that one loss because it did come under weird circumstances. How often do you think about it? Was it easy to get over, or is it something that still bothers you to this day?
It wasn't easy to get over. You know what I mean? No loss is going to be easy to get over. But it was a very humbling in me, you know, learning a lot about myself and learning the game and knowing, like, hey, just because, you know, it's a guy backs out or can't make weight or something like that, you don't have to, if it's not the smart choice, you don't have to make that choice if it's not the smart choice at that time, you know what I mean? At the time, I was like, all right, he did a training camp, like, I feel like I'm better than this guy, I'm going to fight, you know, I'll do the fight, you know, and then the night of the fight, I still come in at, you know, 165 to 170, this guy comes in at 185, you know what I mean? You learn from those mistakes, but I learned a lot from that loss. It was very humbling. It also took a lot of weight off my shoulders because I was undefeated at the time. So, like, you know what I mean? The whole time I was worrying about, if I get you know, am I going to get a loss? Am I not going to be undefeated anymore? That was a lot of pressure, you know? So, so after that feeling of getting a loss, it's like, all right, it sucked, but it's not that bad. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of my life. You know what I mean? It's not the end of my career. So it you know, took a lot of weight off my shoulders, and it was my first televised fight. So it was like nervous in front of the cameras and all that, you know. So once I got that all out the way, you know, it made me a better fighter and understand more and be more calm and really learn the game, you know.
Mm-hmm. And when you talk about these fights, the possibility of short notice fights that you could have taken with the UFC, did those offers only come from the UFC, or did you ever get any from like Bellator or PFL or anyone?
Yeah, I've had offers at Bellator when they've been here in New England at Mohegan. It just didn't, those just didn't fall through. There also was like when World Series was around. but it wasn't like long-term deals. They were like, one fight deals on the super undercard. It just didn't fall through. And when that was happening, I really didn't even have a manager at the time. So it's kind of like me going back and forth, and it just at the time I didn't have like the guidance. I didn't feel comfortable with what was being offered to me. So I just didn't go with it. I was like, if it's not my ultimate goal, then I don't want to settle at this point in my career. Like, I want to try to get as far as I can, without settling, because that wasn't my ultimate goal, you know what I mean? But, my goal's been to make it to the UFC when I first started, and it still is.
Now, Nate, I believe you in your goals to make it to the UFC because you can look at your record. A, you have amateur experience with the matchmakers like the C, and B, you have solid, consistent regional experience in an awesome promotion like CES against guys with winning records. But, you're talking about taking these matches and making these decisions. Let me ask you, do you have a mentor in your corner? Is it a coach? And if so, who are these support systems, whether it's coaches or mentor, in making these decisions while you make your way up?
I do have some mentors and coaches and friends that have been in the game that are there for me. One of my main MMA coaches, Peter Jeffries out of Triforce MMA. My main boxing coach is Victor Fagnet, who's out of New England Combat. And then I have training partners that also are like been in the game for a while, who are mentors, like Greg Ribello, who fought the same night as me. He was the main event. He corners me most of the time if he's not fighting the same night as me. So he's another mentor. And then, I have my the management team that's managing me now, my last three or four fights, Top Game management. So I do have a really good support system. And then I do bounce around and train at other gyms in New England with some top fighters. I go up to Sityo Tong in Boston with Mark Delagrati and all his guys up there sparring. I go to Lausanne's for sparring and grappling. So, I have a lot of good guys that are surrounding me, and good support system that believe in me and see that I can make it to the next level, and I'm good enough and prepared for it.
Good stuff. And by the way, what's your age, Nate?
I'm 33.
33. All right. Well, we hope to see you here in Vegas sometime, man. Contenders. I'd love to see you on Contender Series because, for one, you're a finisher, and once you're fighting in front of the matchmakers and the big boss himself, Dana White, I think you'd make an impression. But we wish you the best of luck. Congrats off that win, 10 days ago. We're a little late on that. Your PR guy pitched us sooner, and we weren't able to do it because of the holiday. But anyway, so happy for your win, and it's great to cover another young up-and-comer. And hopefully we see you again and talk to you again soon.
Great, thank you for the time and for the interview. I appreciate it, and thanks for the kind words.
All right, take care, Nate. We'll see you.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye. All right, let's go from one fighter to the next. Eryk Anders is our next guest. Undefeated, 9-0 overall. He's got John Phillips ahead of him at UFC Fight Night 123, which is headlined by Cub Swanson versus Brian Ortega. Eryk has, in his career, 6 KOs and 1 submission. He joins us now on MMA Junkie Radio. What's up, Eryk? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, man? Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, great to talk to you, buddy. You got John Phillips ahead of you at UFC Fight Night 123, and now we don't have to deal with those jitters. Did you have jitters in the debut? Be truthful.
No, not at all, man. I've never been more calm, cool, and collected for that Hoppy on the Tall fight. I've been for any competition, whether it be football or a track meet or a wrestling match or, prior MMA fight.
Yeah. It went well.
I just felt I felt really, really good, top to bottom, physically and mentally.
I remember we talked to you before the fight, and you were confident, but we always wondered, well, what's it really going to be like? Once you're in the back room with all the other fighters warming up, and you start making that walk to the octagon. Some people lose it, but, regardless of whether you were nervous or not, you went out there and handled your business.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Regardless of the stage, the atmosphere, the opponent, the objective is always the same, to go out there and get a finish as early as possible and take the least amount of damage. So, I'm ready to fight 2 weeks or a week from now, you know.
You retired him too, brother.
Man, I think he's just an older guy, and you know that was his second or third knockout in a row. I just happened to be the last guy to knock him out, man. It's probably time for him to hang it up anyway.
Yeah. Well, you assisted with that decision, that's for sure. John Phillips is your next opponent. You gonna retire him or?
Man, actually, you know, John Phillips had visa issues, so I'm fighting a guy named Marcus Perez, the LFA champion, middleweight champion, now in December. So, you know, you go from a guy like John Phillips, who was a bruiser, you know, super aggressive coming forward, more of a boxer than anything else. Now I'm fighting a Brazilian. You know, he's real smooth, you know, it almost kind of looks like he's dancing in this. You know, he throws a lot of weird shots. Not weird, but, you know, he's not a very conventional fighter. And very slick jiu-jitsu. And, you know, definitely a game opponent. And, you know, he'll come forward and, you know, he'll definitely be game. So I'm definitely looking forward to the matchup.
Somebody's O must go. He's undefeated as well, 9-0 like you.
Yeah, he's 9-0, and you know, I'm very confident in my preparation to go out there and get a victory and finish him in that first round.
Eryk, I don't know if you could hear, I know you were on hold, but our previous guest, Nate Andrews, he was talking about when he was undefeated and how when he got that first loss, it took a lot of pressure off of his shoulders because he thought about being undefeated a lot. Where do you stand on that? You know, a lot of mixed martial artists talk about losing and say it kind of happens to everybody. And then you see a guy like in boxing and Floyd Mayweather who was able to go out with no losses. How often do you think about that and what it means to you?
Man, I don't think about it at all, and I don't feel any added pressure for being undefeated. You know, every time I step into, you know, I can't even play a game of Uno without wanting to win, without expecting to win. You know, so regardless of, you know, my record, my opponent's record, or whatever, I'm going out there and I'm going to prepare for that fight, and I'm going to go out there and, you know, with the utmost confidence in my game plan and my preparation. I think that's where the confidence comes from, is the preparation. You know, as a fighter, whether you're prepared 100% for a fight or not. And every time I stepped in there, I've been 100% prepared. And, you know, I don't see me being anything less than that for any fight. So, you know, you know, if it happens, it happens. You know, this is, you know, part of the nature of the game that we play. You know, someone can just close their eyes and wing one over the top, and if you get clipped, you get clipped, you know. Or a scramble ensues on the ground, and you end up in a weird position or whatever, and now he's got your back. You know, it happens, but, you know, like I said, I don't feel any added pressure. I thrive under pressure, so whatever. I plan on keeping my O and being 10-0 after this fight.
Eryk, we was really impressed with your fight with, you know, Rafael Natal. Seen you go 5 rounds in LFA. Really excited to see what you can continue to do here in the UFC. But tell me, you know, your past experience in football. We talked to a lot of wrestlers, and it seems like that competition experience of having to go through competition really helps get a fighter's mind adjusted. And you sound like a very well-adjusted fighter mentally. Does the football at all kind of play a factor in that, or is that more your preparation and your fight camp for MMA now helping you get prepared?
I can't say that it didn't hurt, but, you know, competing in front of, you know, 100,000 people with 22 other people on the field, you know, it's quite different than, you know, being one of two in a cage. You know, in some of those arenas, they probably fit like 20, 30,000, but, you know, the lights are off in the crowd, so you really, like, I don't really notice the crowd or pay attention to the crowd or anything, so I think that, you know, I prefer the MMA atmosphere. I don't have to worry about anybody fumbling or missing a football or missing a tackle or dropping a pass or, you know, blowing a coverage or whatever. Everything that happens inside that cage is a direct result of something that I did.
Eryk, we can close the interview by saying, hey, we wish you the best of luck against Marcus Perez. Thanks for doing the interview. Or we can ask you one more question. I'm going to leave it up to you.
Here, man, you can ask me wherever you want.
Dude, what happened on Saturday? Auburn got you.
Look, Auburn's defense is on the bench, or excuse me, Alabama's defense is on crutches, and, you know, they only ran the ball like 15 times. You know, Bama's built their foundation on running the ball. They're not a pass-first team. You know, like they're leading the Damian Harris had 7 touches for, 50. He had an average like 8.6 yards a carry. But you only gave him seven carries. Come on, man. So I think the game plan and play calling had a lot to do with that. On top of all of Alabama's linebackers on crutches or not being able to play. So whenever you got that many key players out, it's really debilitating to your defense. So and that showed, they had a hard time stopping the run and whatnot. So, it is what it is. Bama's probably still going to the national championship or at least the playoffs anyway. So, whatever.
All right, bud. Hey,
Auburn gets to go to the, the SunTrust Bowl or some.
All right. Well, listen.
You tell me who really won.
Well, it's wide open, man. I think right now they're looking at Clemson because Miami lost too. They were number 2. So Auburn has to be in there probably at number 4 because they just beat Alabama, even though they've lost 2, if I'm not mistaken. Oklahoma fought their way back. Clemson fought their way back, and wow, yeah. So I don't know. I think Alabama will be there in the end. I'm not so sure y'all will win it, but it seems like it's an open year, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Sure. We'll see what happens. That's the good thing about college football is anything can happen on any given Saturday.
Yeah. Thanks for the time. We really enjoyed talking to you. We'll catch up with you soon, and good luck on December 9th against Marcus Perez.
All right, man. Looking forward. I appreciate you guys for having me.
All right. Take care. We'll see you.
Easy, Eryk.
All right, folks. That's Eryk Anders. You can follow him on Twitter at Eryk Anders, ERYKANDERS. We're going to take a break here. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93.
taught Andy Griffith how to whistle. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Win a trip to Miami Beach for a special invitation-only concert from Duran Duran. Our winner will get a trip or two to Miami Beach, including air, hotel tickets to the show, and a chance to meet the band. If you don't win the prize, you can still hear the show live on First Wave and The Pulse on December 9th. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Duran Duran before December 1st. This contest is open to those with SiriusXM since November 1st. No purchase is necessary. Our last guest of the day is fighting this weekend, Saturday to be exact. David Timur will be his opponent. Our guest, he's Drakkar Klose, 8-0-1. He's got a 2-fight win streak in the UFC, a 3-fight win streak since his draw, but he's never experienced a loss. And of those 8 fights, 4 have been finished via TKO. Joining us now on the hotline is Drakkar Klose. What's up, Drakkar? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing there? Thank you for having me also.
Good, man. Thanks for doing the show. George, Goes, and Dan here. We're excited about UFC 218. It's a great card, top to bottom, isn't it?
Yeah, man, it's a stacked card. You know, if everyone needs to tune in, watch me definitely, and then watch the pay-per-view card. It's going to be some exciting fights.
And so I know you're obviously, this is your Super Bowl. This is, you want to win your fight, and that's what you're worried about. But the fan in you, I mean, like, is there part of you that once the fight's done, you're just going to race back to your, shower up, race to your seat, and soak the rest of this in?
Yeah, I wish I can we actually have to watch it from the back, but, I wish Frankie Edgar was still in there. I was really looking forward to seeing that, but that's still going to be a good fight between those two.
Who you got, Aldo or Holloway?
I'm going with Holloway, same way, TKO.
Mm-hmm. What about Ngannou and Overeem?
I really don't. I've met whatever the other guy's name is, Diamond or whatever. Yeah, he's too cocky for me. So hopefully, Alistair wins that.
Really? Tell me, what was that like? What was he? Was he cocky to the people around you, or to you directly?
I was just like, just trying to, make small chat with him. He just acting like he's better than everyone, But it is what it is,
Damn, I thought he was this likable teddy bear. I didn't know that. That was this at the UFC PI or where was this?
I think it was it 202 in Vegas with Woodley and Thompson?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I went up and, just trying to make a little small talk with him, and he just trying to blow me off. So I was like, yeah, F this dude.
Drakkar Klose, our guest here on MMAjunkie Radio. He's got David Timur coming up. David's a fun matchup. He's coming to do the same thing you're coming to do to him. He's going to try and take your head off. You excited about the matchup?
I'm excited. I think that's a good matchup for me. We're both exciting. We're both prospects. Hopefully after this, I won't be a prospect anymore. I'll be someone, people have to look out for. So, I don't know. I'm excited for it. It's going to be a good fight.
I'll tell you this much. You have 8 wins, and 2 of those are in the UFC. You are not a prospect, man. You've arrived. When you're in the UFC, that's where the best fight. You know what I mean? I think I think you're past that.
Yep. I think last time I was talking to you guys took Dia Casey. I was kind of bummed.
No. Actually, I had your back, and Dia Casey came after me because of it, because he found out that I picked you. And he goes, I'm going to be in Vegas soon and this and that. And I stood my ground. I was team Klose.
He did.
Okay, good. Because I don't think it should have been unanimous. I mean, I think it should have been unanimous decision, not a split. But, hey, I think they had Stevie Wonder judging.
Drakkar Klose, our guest here on MMAjunkie Radio. It goes down on Saturday, UFC 218. He fights David Timur, at the Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan. The headline bout is Max Holloway versus Jose Aldo. What do you have for Drakkar Klose?
Drakkar, some of these bonuses can be life-changing for fighters, and when we look at the way you match up with David Timur, this fight kind of has Fight of the Night written all over it. How often do you think about these bonuses, and how much do you play into them?
I really don't think about them. I really don't want fighter of the night, man. Like, that means we both were in a war. I'd rather have a knockout of the night or submission, you know, not fighter of the night.
Being so close to home, are your family, friends, are they all coming out for this one? How big is that crew going to be?
Oh, it's going to be a packed house. You know, hopefully the whole wrestling community in Michigan, you know, they come out and support me. But I know all my friends and family are going to be there, so it's going to be a good night.
Drakkar, we still want to ask you a few more questions, and I'm going to take my medicine. I was one of the guys that picked Diakise against you. So you got a couple minutes to do some overtime with us?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. All right, so SiriusXM audience, you are going to get some more combat sports and entertainment. And for any part of the show that you missed, you can catch us on the SiriusXM On Demand. So download that app. You can listen to the show commercial-free and in HD quality. I want to thank our earlier guests, Brian Butler, Max Holloway's manager, Felice Herrig's manager, Paul Felder's manager. He manages everybody, it seems like. Nate Andrews and Eryk Anders back-to-back. Drakkar Klose joining us right now. We'll stay with him for a few minutes of overtime, so stay close. We'll be right back. The rest of you head on over to Facebook. We'll finish there with some OT.
Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas with your neon flashing and the wild bandits crashing and all those homes down the drain. Viva Las Vegas, turning day into nighttime, turning night into daytime. If you see it once, you'll never be the same again.
You guys are clear for overtime.
Yeah, I pulled it up, Drakkar. The MMA Junkie staff picks. Everybody had Diakise except Goes here. He did go with you, and Diakise did give him a hard time on the show. I remember that. I mean, it was lively, but it didn't start off that way, right?
Yeah, but see, that's the kind of picking that when you think about it, George, that's how you get to the top of the staff picks, the leader.
Yeah.
You make picks like that.
Goes is actually in first place, Drakkar, by one pick. You could almost point back to that one pick.
That was it. That was the moment.
That was it?
That was the moment that turned it all around.
I'm glad you picked me, you know. Like, hey, everyone doubted me, but I knew.
Drakkar, when you looked at that, did you have like a reaction like, what motherfuckers, can you believe these bastards at MMA Junkie are doubting me? Like, is that fuel and motivation as well, as much as like when haters hit you on social media?
Yeah, but hey, it was kind of cool because, you know, I think like all together my family won like 20 grand. So
damn, that works.
So, yeah, I'd rather be the underdog every time.
All right, I'm gonna pass you over to Dan Tom here. He's got a question or two for you. I'm gonna look up the odds in the meantime and see where you stay at for this one. All right, Dan, what do you have for Drakkar?
Well, that's perfect for this underdog talk because Drakkar, some of my favorite fighters are these fighters that, you know, a lot of people overlook. They get paired up with a name that's coming in, and next thing you know, the rug gets pulled underneath from you. And one of the other fighters I'm referencing here is Bam Bam Barberina. And for some reason, it just feels like your camp over there, the MMA Lab, you guys are, no one's going to disagree that there's talent there, but it feels like, you know, maybe from your matchup to Bam Bam's matchup, that you guys will get these matchups that I feel like people don't, you know, maybe give you guys the respect that you deserve, picks and stuff aside. Do you guys kind of feel each other? I mean, that obviously feels you, but do you guys kind of, you know, get behind each other and fuel each other to have these upset performances? Because it looks like you guys have a tight-knit family there.
Dude, you know, we have a family over here. You know, Bam Bam's my brother. He actually texted me yesterday and, you know, asked me how my camp was and all that. And, you know, he's ready to get back in there after he's healthy. But, you know, yeah, everyone overlooks us, you know. That's a good thing. I'd rather stay under the radar, you know, so maybe hopefully they don't change us hard.
I haven't been able to find the odds. It looks like they will wait to post them a little bit as we get closer to the fight. But you happen to know them by any chance, Drakkar?
I do not.
20 G's, though, you made, huh? Did you get your cut or anything? Anybody, like, take you out for a steak dinner or anything? Or is it just a big thank you? And that's it. They went about their business.
Such a big thank you. You know, my brother, he took me out. He bought a couple drinks for me. But, you know, I was just happy, you know, put a little money in their pockets, and I made some money that night. So
that's awesome. Do you ever, you know, make picks, you know, either fantasy fighting or do any parlays or whatever when your teammates are fighting?
I always do like parlays and stuff, and I'm bad at it.
Oh, you are?
They're due to lose the first time, and I'm like, But Coach Krause is pretty good. I think he didn't bet, but we always do like the fight week. We'll pick the who's going to win.
Is he the best in the gym? He's the best in the gym?
Yeah, he definitely is.
All right, might have to hit him up via text.
So if you want to make some bets, you need to talk to him, and he'll pick the winners for you.
Sweet. All right. Well, listen. I was one of the few guys that took Timur over Lando Venata. Venata's legit too. I have no problem with that guy. He really is good. But I knew Timur has some skills. But this fight, is going to be a little bit different. Now I know a little bit more about each guy. But I'm really excited about this fight. It's kind of buried a little bit because it's such a deep card. But folks, do not sleep on Drakkar Klose versus David Timur. You're right. Whether we want to call you guys prospects or up-and-comers or fighters that are going to be on everybody's radar, this could be that breakout fight here coming up on Saturday.
I think it is. It's going to be, I got my feet wet here in Phoenix for my debut. I beat a top prospect in Dia Casey. And now, I can just go in there and just let loose and just beat me.
His fight goes down, folks, on FS1 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be the second fight. So approximately 8:30 p.m. Eastern start time, Drakkar Klose will be fighting David Timur. Tune in. You will really, really like it. Remember, the main card is a pay-per-view. So get together on Saturday because this is one of the best cards of the year. All right, Drakkar, well, thanks for spending some extra time with us. We really enjoyed catching up with you. And by the way, what's the prediction for the Timur fight? How's this end?
Just me getting my hand raised. That's always, my prediction. Leaving with a W.
There you have it. All right, folks. All right, thank you, Drakkar. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. You guys have a great day.
All right, you too. And I want to thank Ed Cap for those interviews back to back to back to back. He's got, between those three fighters, I think we're looking at 30-1, 31-1.
And happy birthday, Ed Cap. It was his birthday like last week, I think.
Yeah. Some young lions there for one of the top PR guys. If I were to do a PR, a number one 1 to 10 PR poll or list, Ed Cap would probably be at the top. So I guess I just took away the suspense if I were to do it. But he's been hustling, man. He, PR isn't just, hey, I got a guy, interview him. No, send the pitch. Send a pitch over on why we should do it, what they've been up to, what your clients are up to, or what this fight means to them, and you're definitely more likely to get caught on. Once you start developing that get that reputation, it becomes a lot easier. All right, folks, we're gonna bounce out of here. Thanks, Danny, for staying OT. Same with the audience that stuck around and listened. Incredible goes. You were the only guy, that took Klose.
Yeah.
What did Drakkar finally say?
Dude,
or excuse me, what did Casey finally say?
Nah, he was just joking around.
I know, but did he ever say anything? Have you talked to him since then? Or?
Nah, I haven't. But he's actually one of my favorite fighters. So it's tough to pick against him, but I just didn't think the styles were in his favor.
Yeah. Are you nervous going into these final weeks with the lead?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, I'm rooting for you.
I don't
Simon
want repeats.
Or Morocco. It's between Goes, Simon Simano, and Steven Morocco, along with Ben Folks and Dan Stupp. The rest of us are just too far down. There's no way we can win it. But I'd like to see someone new do it, because the minute someone goes back-to-back, I mean, or is a two-time winner, I guess in the case of Dan or Ben Folks, he could go back-to-back. That's just something that'll be really hard to duplicate because the staff keeps growing. Yeah. Dan will join us next year, and who knows how it'll go with this beast. But, yeah, Goes has a chance to do it, so can't wait for those staff picks to come out. You can be talking shit, Goes, if you win?
A lot.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm going to be unbearable for a year.
All right. Well, I can't remember my stun gun, so we'll have to leave that for tomorrow possibly. I don't know if the guys did, but we'll save it all for tomorrow. I already thanked our guests from earlier, so basically all we have to do is get on out of here. Enjoy your Mondays. We'll see you all tomorrow. We'll have a show tomorrow, and we're going to probably have an early edition show on Saturday. We'll do some more explaining of that because Because it's confusing. How about that? All right, we're out of here, folks. Be champions.